Hello, I'm narrator Gustav. Just kidding, maybe. So when we were given the project, we kind of knew what we wanted to do, but we're otherwise stumped on how to do it. Until finally, after some brainstorming, we came up with studies on bias. Gross. It's a concept that we've been learning all year, and we really wanted to see how it would actually affect some real tangible data. For our study design, we chose to do a chi-square test of homogeneity, and we were thinking about doing multiple treatments, but then eventually we just limited to 2. For our first treatment, we are choosing to focus on peer bias. I am posing as a decoy, aka a student from another class. Jeffrey is responsible for playing the tones and will also be the questioner for our second treatment. Hardit is our data manager and will be recording every single response and person that we interview. Finally, Chris is our videographer. However, we made sure to respect everyone's personal privacy and asked before we filmed, so therefore the people who did not want to be filmed will not be shown in the video. Jeffrey will play 2 tones and a third tone which can't be heard, but I will always react.
So just raise your hand if you can hear it, okay? Ready? Can you hear this one? Raise your hand if you can hear it. No. No? All right. At this one. Okay. And this one? No?
No.
All right. That's all we need. Thank you.
Failed. Junior?
All right. Okay, raise your hand if you can hear this. Okay. Raise your hand if you can hear this. All right. Supposed to be higher. Raise your hand if you can hear this one. All right. Thank you. That's all we need.
All right, cool.
Thank you. So we're gonna start with the first one. All right. Can you hear this? All right. Can you hear this one? All right. And then can you hear this one? No? All right. Raise your hand if you can hear this sound. All right. Raise your hand if you can hear this sound. All right. And raise your hand if you can hear this sound.
The goal is to try to prompt the person next to
Okay.
me to answer untruthfully.
All right. You can hear it, raise your hand. All right. You can hear it, raise your hand. All right. Thank you. That's all we needed. Okay. This one. Okay. And this one. Here's the first one. Ow. All right. That means raise your hand. I'm assuming you can hear it. Okay. If you can raise your hand if you can hear this one. All right. And now raise your hand if you can hear this one. This one's gonna be a little higher pitched. I heard you use. No? Okay. Here's the first one. Raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. All right. Second one. All right. The third one. No? Okay. Thank you. That's all we need.
Second treatment is looking at question bias. Jeffrey is going to prompt the subject with certain leading questions that might affect their answers.
People under 25 can usually hear this frequency. Can you hear it? All right, and then people under 20 can usually hear this one. Can you hear it? No? Okay, that's all we need. Okay. People under 30 can usually hear that one. People under 25 can usually hear this one. Can you hear it?
I can't hear right now. It's between people or something.
Can you hear this? No? All right, and then, well, this probably won't matter then, but people under 20 can usually hear this one. Can you hear it? Okay.
So much background noise. I can't hear it.
Usually, so just let us know if you can hear this. Right? This people under 30 can hear this one.
I can hear that.
All right. People under 25 can usually hear this one.
I can hear it.
Yeah. All right, and then people under 20 can usually hear this one. You hear it?
No.
No?
I don't.
Okay. This is people under 30 can hear this one.
Yeah.
Okay. People under 25 can usually hear this one. Ear piercing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, I don't know how to describe that.
Ear piercing.
Yes.
Okay. People under 20 can hear this one. Can you hear it?
No.
No? All right. That's all we need to do. All right. All right. People under 25 can hear this one. Alright? And then people under 20 can usually hear this one. You hear it? No? Okay. That's all we
Well, let me fix it right now. What's up, guys? It's 2013 right now. We're going to be doing this little project. 2013, February 4th of Coney 2012.
Okay, reset the video. Okay, just raise your hand if you can hear the frequency.
Yep.
Alright, you can hear that one? People under 25 can hear this one. Can you hear it?
Yep.
Alright, people under 20 can hear this one. Can you hear it?
Yep.
You can hear it? Alright, that's all we
So-
need to change. People under 30 can normally hear this one. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. People under 25 can hear this one. Can you hear it?
Yes.
People under 20 can hear this one. Can you hear it?
Yes.
You can? Okay.
The funniest part about that last clip is that Paimon actually realized that it was a fake sound at the end, and yet still did not answer truthfully. Sorry to expose you. Lucky for us, our data manager is actually the best in the biz and actually created an entire Google Sheet that was programmed to input our data and was able to give us our total without us doing very much additional work. Now let's look at the question bias data. For our exploratory data analysis, you can see the graph and how close the data is between the categories, only differing by 2 students. The graph is uncut and an unbiased representation of the honesty of students at Granada. Both graphs are not far off from the expected counts, which further backs up the idea that the difference in proportion is not significant. As shown in the table, the total chi-squared value is very small, but the 2 main contributors are the lie values. This is because our sample size is small. If the sample size was to increase, the chi-squared value would most likely increase and the p-value would decrease. Now for everyone's favorite, inference. We are trying to determine whether or not there is a significant difference in the proportion of students who lie under peer bias and question bias. Our null hypothesis is the proportions for all categories are the same, and our alternative hypothesis is the proportions differ for at least one category. We chose our significance level to be 0.05, and we're doing a chi-squared test of homogeneity. For our conditions, although we were not able to complete an SRS, we conducted a cluster survey by selecting 2 classrooms and interviewing 10 students from each. For the purpose of the study, we will treat it as an SRS, referring to our expected counts data chart. All the expected counts are at least 1. Unfortunately, because we had such a small sample, we do not have at least 80% of the expected accounts to be 5. But we will ignore this and proceed cautiously for the sake of the toolbox, hoping it is a robust survey. Finally, after performing the necessary mathematical procedures, when testing to see if there is a difference in the proportion of students who lie under peer bias, we lack significant evidence to say there is a difference between the proportion of students who lie under different bias types and do not reject the null. Our large p-value, 0.26355, is not significant at the 5% level and would not be at any other important level. This is most likely due to our small sample size and the low degree of freedom in the 2x2 table. Our project isn't without some flaws. We encountered a couple obstacles such as availability, since we were not always able to come together as a group due to varying schedules and GHS schedules as well. Another obstacle that we face is the fact that our sample size is very small. However, the way that we conducted our treatments made it extremely time-consuming. Also, I'm sure everyone could hear it in the background, but the music in our area was extremely loud, which made it hard for some of the subjects to be able to hear the tones in the first place, which in turn could have affected their responses. Yet another obstacle is the fact that we don't have at least 80% of the expected counts from our chi-squared test being greater than 5. Therefore, we have to claim that the data we gathered was robust in order to proceed with the conditions of the inference toolbox. In conclusion, we saw how, for the most part, students at Granada are honest and aren't influenced by peer pressure or question bias very much. But for those who are influenced, we found no evidence that the type of pressure applied to them made them more or less likely to be dishonest. This information is useful because it lets us know that most students tell the truth at Granada, and for the other surveys that are conducted, those results can be expected to be fairly accurate. Some things we could have done differently, or would do differently if we expanded on this in the future, is to utilize and and take advantage of the process of doing SRSs. Also, we would try to conduct the interviews in a quieter environment, as seeing that the music was so effective in possibly changing some of our answers. Also, to adjust it to learn about a larger population, we would simply just have a larger sample size and conduct the experiment with increased sample size to cover a wider range of students on campus.